that current account that was mentioned involving the Banco de las Islas Filipinas.
Besides,
Mr. President,
besides, Your
with
Honor,
the indulgence of Senator Pia Cayetano, if I may,
Yes.
I would just like to remind everyone that the reason that I believe that we cannot read anything into the fact that the defense did not object, because according to our rules, they cannot object.
Precisely.
So
I was about to
I
mention
think
that,
maybe
Your
perhaps we should hear from them if they have any reservations about all of these suggestions and motions. And
that's why I wanted to take the floor, if Your Honor, please, and
Proceed.
place on record that even if we wanted to object in view of the clarification made by the Honorable Presiding Judge, Your Honor, we are constrained not to do so for fear that we may be violating the order of this court, Your Honor.
Well, you should have asked the permission of the chair.
We just went ahead with it, even if there is an
Are you
objection.
objecting to the request for subpoena by the gentleman from Cebu?
To us, if the question is addressed to us, Your Honor, it will appear to be a fishing expedition, because as what the court will notice, none of this account had been the subject of any examination prior to the filing of the complaint in this case. We had been stating all the while that all this amounts to a fishing expedition because the evidence are not with them when they filed the case, Your Honor. That is not the ordinary procedure. If this may be compared to a criminal case.
This is the request of a judge in this, a member of the Senate, not the request of the prosecution service. So, the prosecutors.
We cannot.
So, I will leave it to the pleasure of the chamber if you want to object to the request of a fellow member of this House. I will divide the House.
Mr. President?
Yeah.
Mr. President, it is my understanding that yes, we did have a caucus, and we had a ruling on the basis of that caucus as regards the subpoena and the items. However, Mr. President, after 2 days of trial, new information has surfaced. Yesterday and today, we have come to realize that there are certain figures here and amounts here that are surfacing, which brings us to the next stage, ika nga. We want to know more about this information that we are receiving, and I think any of the senator judges should be given enough leeway to be able to secure more information based on the subsequent information that is now made available to us. For us to stick to what we decided on during the caucus and ignore all the information that we're now receiving, at least up to this point, I think would also be, it is asking of us in the Senate to sort of close our eyes and not move towards getting more information that we deem is necessary to get a clearer picture, Mr. President. So I hope that this can be considered by those who are of the opinion that whatever it is that we decided in the caucus 2 days ago is what we should stick to, Mr. President.
In the first place, the caucus referred to this request for subpoena by the prosecution. It did not cover request for documents by any member of the court for his information. So, if there's an objection to the request of the gentleman from Cebu, then say so. Put it in the form of an objection and let's divide the court.
Mr. President, I would just like to clarify that the reason I bring this matter up is because in caucus we had discussed that the reason why we are asking for the ending balance is because we are looking at Article 2, which is on the SALN, which requires that the ending balance is what will be declared. And that's why as a senator judge, I am guided by what is required by the SALN, and that is my understanding why those are the documents that the figures that we requested from the bank. Now, if we are changing that because of, new circumstances, I am very open to discussing what this is, but precisely why there was a reason why it was pegged on December 31. Otherwise, we will go into we will go into 2.4,
I'm
which
not
is
saying-
on
I'm
ill-gotten
not-
wealth.
The chair is not changing any ruling that it has made. It stands. It applies to request for subpoena on the part of the prosecution. Now, in the case of this matter that triggered this discussion, it was a request not by the prosecution but by the defense, which I took as an authority of the depositor himself to produce the monthly balances, monthly statements on that current account all the years up to December 31st, 2010, to show that the 12 billion ending balance on December 31st, 2010 was not a one-time deposit reflecting an income deposited by the depositor at that time. And I knew the trust of his request, that he wants to show that that is the sum total of all the balances of that current account over the years. Am I correct, Counsel?
I agree. Very correct, Your Honor.
So, that is not covered by our caucus. Now, neither did the caucus cover any request by a member of this impeachment court to request for documents from the parties.
Now, may I interrupt, please, because I
The
can
gentleman
clarify
from
this.
Cebu.
Mr. President, with your permission, we're talking about two different issues here. What I requested was just the balance of any deposit, any other deposit in the bank as of December 31st. So it might be under a heading of CDs, time deposit, savings account, UITF. But on December 31st, I will be satisfied with that. Now, there's another request which I was about to make, and which I think the senator from Iloilo was going to make, because the defense counsel himself requested a monthly balance. So I was going to ask that this also be applied to the monthly balances in the PSB accounts. If we can ask for the monthly balances in the Bank of PI account, then we can also ask for the monthly balances in the PSP account. So those are two different issues.
Only
Thank you.
if the depositor would consent.
Well, does that mean the defense counsel will have to agree?
We authorize the opening of the monthly balances because upon the request of the depositor. But if it is requested by a member of the Senate sitting as an impeachment court, well, I am subject to the decision of the body.
Well, my only point was that if the defense, or if one side can ask, why can it not be applied to the other accounts also, if it will serve their purpose? Now, this is not covered really by bank secrecy, because this is an impeachment court. We're not talking about the dollar accounts. We have not decided on that yet, but we are talking about the peso accounts, the December 31st balances of which we obtained the other day. Oh, that's all I'm saying, Mr. President. Thank you.
Mr. President, may I just offer my help to clarify? Actually, both sides are correct. It is correct that in the caucus, we decided that we will not allow fishing expeditions. So therefore, the subpoenas that will be issued, we will ask that it will at least specify the bank account numbers. Now, there is a certain level of information that we need. If not, we simply write the central bank and say, give us all of these bank accounts. However, and that is where we stopped in the caucus. However, yesterday and today, testimony tended to show that certain bank accounts are linked with one another. So, Senator Osmeña and myself, I asked a while ago, are also correct to say that if these are linked together, there is some sort of basis to ask for this other account. The question that the presiding officer has been asking, is there any objection and should we vote on it? I don't think it is a matter of there's objection, although that is the correct procedure. I think the question is, do we debate it here and now where the rules only limit us to 1 minute each? Or do we debate it in caucus where each of us will have our papers, our staff to assist us, and we can balance the interest of the banking industry, the economy, of the secrecy of bank accounts, and our function to come to the truth. There's a very fine line between a fishing expedition and searching for the truth, Mr. President. So I haven't heard an objection, but I think the question really was, without giving away our positions, and I didn't think Senator Pia, if I may say, I didn't hear her give a position, whether or not she's objecting or not. It's just a matter of a clarification. Would we want to discuss this in caucus where we would be able to balance the conflicting
I'm open to any suggestion. We can decide it here. We can decide it in caucus.
Well, Mr.
Depending upon the pressure of the House.
Mr. President.
Yes?
Yes.
Well, are you through, Senator
Mr. President, I just clarified that as of the new accounts. But I was also one of them who asked a while ago, is this account linked? Two more clarifications. No? Two witnesses already kept on answering here that they can only reveal information on bank accounts if they are subpoenaed. I have a different interpretation of 1405. In impeachment proceedings, for as long as the court is inquiring into it, you can give information here. And the order of the court is not limited to a subpoena. When the presiding officer directs you to testify on it, that is also an order of the court. Am I correct, presiding officer?
Yes, correct.
So do not limit the order of the court, ma'am, and to the subpoena. But since hindi po lawyers lahat, di ba, we're not taking that against you. Pero pag inutos po ng korte, kahit written or oral form here, na sinabi sa inyo, order pa rin yun, protected pa rin kayo sa 1405. Lastly, Mr. President, I heard the last statement of Senator Osmeña na kung pwedeng tignan yung balances, bakit hindi sa PS account? Without making a stand, actually the defense took an extra trouble of asking the court if they can go to the bank and if they can get that. But actually that's even unnecessary because their client is the owner of the account.
That's correct.
All he has to do is write the bank, give me my statements.
No,
And the bank will give them the statements. But it created confusion now that if you can ask for all of the accounts balances, why not for the other accounts? That's a legitimate question from a senator judge. But just to clarify all those issues, Mr. President, so tatlong issue yon: new accounts, account statement, at pangatlo, yung order of the court. Thank you, Mr. President, and my apologies to the gentleman from Iloilo.
Mr. President.
Mr. President, I will not continue the discussion right now, but before we go on, may we just know from the witness if she needs to go to the restroom. I have been 9 months pregnant at one time, and she's been sitting for an hour, so just as a matter of courtesy.
Thank you, Your Honor, for the consideration.
Madam
Okay lang
Witness,
po ako.
do you want to be excused for a while?
No, Your Honor. Pwede lang pong makainom ng tubig.
Mr. President, if there are no questions to the witness, why don't we discharge her until the next session?
The gentleman
Meron ba?
from Iloilo first.
Meron daw, Mr. President.
Mr. President, I wish to add my voice and hopefully clarify the whole thing. The first, just limiting it to the BPI, the first set of documents were those produced by the witness this afternoon, which shows the cash position of Chief Justice Corona as of December 31 of 2005, etc., up to December 31, 2010.